Hi everybody, and welcome to another live stream with me, Martin Twycross, bringing you more practical, down-to-earth teachings on mediumship and development without the fluff. So, it's a monthly live stream. I do the live stream to give you a chance to come along and pick my brains, ask me any questions you have on mediumship, development and any other topics you like. You do need to be logged into YouTube to be able to ask questions. A few people have asked that. They came along but they couldn't ask a question. That's the reason you've got to be logged in. And welcome to everybody who's watching it in person, and also welcome to everybody who's watching this on the replay. I know quite a lot of people catch it on the replay, so you're very welcome to join us as well. So since the last live stream, I've just literally today launched a sale on my website. So I can pop that up and just show you on my website. There is now a summer sale, and basically there's 10% off all the products on the website, and that's the biggest discount I've offered on my website to date. So if you're interested in any of my products, my courses, my study program, my videos, do check out the website, do check out the sale. You don't need a discount code, it's automatically applied to everything, so just go and have a look and see if there's anything that takes your fancy. So as always, if you've got a question, you can put it in the chat box and I'll work through them one at a time. And that's the way it works. You put your questions in there and I work through them. And I answer them one after each other. If you'd like to get your question answered early, you can do make a donation through Super Chat, which is a little $ at the bottom of the chat box. And then I'll do your question next as the very next one. So welcome to Dominique, Just Me and Gail. Lovely to have you joining us. So while we wait for a few more people to join, I did get asked a question that I thought was a very interesting question. I thought I'd chat about it at the beginning of this stream. Somebody asked me the question, what's the one thing in your own development that made the biggest difference to your mediumship? What one thing in your development made the biggest difference? And that's quite a hard question to answer. And it got me thinking. I couldn't really answer it there and then, but I had to think about it. And then I came to the conclusion that the biggest thing for me that made a difference in my own mediumship was understanding the theoretical foundations of mediumship, understanding the theory underpinning mediumship and how it worked. Because, I don't know about you, I would go to circles, I would go to courses, workshops, and people would say make a link, just make a link with spirit. And in certain circles in the UK, everyone sits around and everyone's told to make a link, and when you've got something, just give it off. It's called giving off, and I'm not a big fan of it personally, but that's what a lot of people do. And but you weren't really told how to make a link, or if you were told some information, it was flaky. So for me, when I finally got teaching from good quality tutors who started to explain the mechanics of mediumship and the theoretical basis of mediumship, that for me made a huge difference. And actually, that's what's driven me to create the courses, the products, the videos, the study program I've created, because the feedback I get is that when you understand that theoretical basis, it makes life so much easier. And I found the biggest difference I got from it was I knew what I was meant to be doing. I knew that there's a certain way to connect to spirit, and we've each got to find the way that works for us. I found out that I understood the basis of power, the need for building power. I understood what good evidence is and how to look for it. I began to know that mechanics that mediumship was all about. And then the results you get become more consistent. I found that I was able to link more easily. I was able to link better. I was able to get better evidence, more consistent mediumship. Mediumship is always a range from your best to your worst. But if you like, it moved my range up to the right hand side. It moved my range up to the better side, if that makes any sense to you. And I also trained as a hypnotherapist. And the way I liken it is with hypnotherapy, you have to go through a great deal of training before you're allowed to work on the general public. You have to understand the mind. You have to understand how hypnotherapy works. You have to understand how to construct your wording patterns, language patterns, so you can deliver therapy that will get results. But if I said to somebody, watch that hypnotherapist there, now go and do hypnotherapy, they wouldn't really know how to phrase things. They wouldn't really know what the purpose of hypnotherapy was. They wouldn't really know what they were meant to be doing. And I would say it's exactly the same with mediumship. If I just say to you, watch a medium, look at the students working around you, now copy it and do mediumship, you wouldn't really know what you're supposed to do. And the value of it would be limited. So I don't know if you can see that. So we wouldn't expect a therapist to have no training and to be launched upon us. And the results you'd get if you tried that would be absolutely flaky, hit and miss. And this is what I find out with mediumship in the early stages as well. A lot of people, it is hit and miss because they don't know the foundations, they don't know the theory. So that for me is the answer to that question. So welcome also to Axis, Harry's mum, Maria T and Susan for joining the live stream. So I hope that answers the question that was asked, and I hope that you can see some benefit within that question. And as I say, if you are interested in learning about the theory of mediumship, then you can go to my store. I do offer audio meditations, pre-recorded courses, study program and teaching videos on my store. As I say, there is currently that 10% sale on site-wide, so anything you want, you can pick it up at the greatest discount I've had so far on my website. And that's to celebrate the new store, the new website and store that's been built and combined. Now that it's fully functional, that's the aim, is to celebrate that. So do check it out. So let's. So if you enjoy this, what I do today, if you enjoy my teachings, remember to subscribe. Remember to hit the like button for the video. So let's get into some questions then. Okay, Harry's mum. This week I've had an uninvited spirit speaking in my living room 5 times. My guides have told me that it's because I'm not closing down after working. How can we close down, please? Now, the problem you've got here, and it is a huge problem that I encounter this all the time. And what you're describing does not fit with my reality. Now, no one can deny you your reality. That's the important part to understand. Phenomena can happen, but most of it we perceive subjectively through our own mind. It's not, very rarely would you have objective phenomena in a room. And if it was objective, everyone would hear it. So for all phenomena that takes place is perceived subjectively through our own mind. And it's filtered through our own beliefs, our own fears, our own insecurities, the like. Do I have uninvited spirit bothering me day in, day out? No, not at all. Because we have to have discipline. We have to be either on or off. So the importance of grounding is one of the videos on my channel. There's also a video on my channel about do you need to protect yourself? Do you need to close down? And can you close down your chakras? No, simply you cannot. I don't care what anyone says, really. You can't. It's not as simple as that. You can't just flick light switches and sort them all out. It isn't going to happen. So, the thing is, if you've got an uninvited spirit in your living room, then how do you know they're there? Are they speaking to you in your mind? And how do we know it's real? Because our own minds can create things as well. It's challenging. So, if you don't close down, if you go looking for it, then that's different. If I start looking for spirit, I will find spirit. But if there's nobody to work for, if there's no sitter, if there's no audience, why am I doing mediumship? Why am I trying to link with spirit people? It doesn't make sense. Unless it's my own guides, for my own development, for inspirational purposes, inspirational writing, inspirational reading. So have a look at the video I've done as well on how to practice mediumship. The first point is you need to have somebody to verify the information you're receiving from spirit. And, I'd say discipline is the key here. You've just got to you're either on or you're off. And you need to make sure you're off. But I would say as well, I don't think it's likely that you'd have uninvited spirits coming around you unless there's a subconscious desire for our mind to go looking for things. And quite often, people say to me, I've got an evil spirit in my front room. And you haven't. It's just that there may be a spirit there, spirit presence there, that you put through a filter of fear that creates evil. It's not. So I hope that helps as well. So, how do you close down? I don't teach any techniques for closing down. Never have, never will. I don't close down. I don't sit there and do a closing prayer in my mind. I don't sit there and cover myself in shields. I don't sit there, turn all my chakras off. Never have, never will. Don't teach it. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of everybody's time. It's simply intent. I'm either working or I'm not. When I'm not, I don't focus on it. I focus on other things. So check out the importance of grounding video that I talk about. And I go through it in there in a great deal of detail. I go through it in there about, but if you want to spend a few minutes every day doing elaborate closing down rituals, it probably won't make any difference, to be honest. But what will happen is you'll feel better because you think it's helping you. But in a few years' time, 10 years' time, however long it takes, you'll realise every day you've been spending all that time effectively not achieving a great deal that you could have just achieved through setting the intent that you're either working or you're not. So I don't teach closing down, as you've gathered. I don't teach protection for the same reasons. So again, check out that video on my channel. Does a medium need to close down? Does a medium need to protect? And the importance of grounding. It's all there. So I hope that helps you in some way. It's probably not the answer you wanted, but I'm afraid I'm not a medium who gets excited about turning chakras off, covering my chakras and saucepan lids, because we start talking about chakras and you can't see your chakras. You don't know whether they're open, on, off, blocked or not. So does it help your mediumship? No. I teach mediumship, I do mediumship, and all the people I've taught that do mediumship don't need chakras. Yes, you've got chakras. Yes, they're a byproduct of the process, but doing mediumship is not a core part of working with your chakras necessarily. For me, it adds a layer of complexity that nobody needs. So there you are. That's my opinion. Other people listening to this may differ, and that's fine. If what I teach resonates with you, go with it. If it doesn't, let it go. But I'm a firm believer in getting rid of stuff that doesn't help the process. Because if it doesn't help the process, we can waste a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of anxiety trying to do things that make no difference whatsoever. Focus on what matters. That's what I'd say. So I hope that helps in some way. Okay, Maria. I watched your demonstration the other day. It was amazing. You brought down the passing condition at the beginning on every contact. Any tips on doing that? I don't always get passing. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was obviously a Zoom demonstration. And every now and again, I do some Zoom demonstrations. I usually post it in my Facebook page or in my Facebook group, Mediumship Teachings with Martin Twycross, if you're interested. For me, it's not necessarily about starting each link with a passing condition. That's not my intent. I will often start links with their personality. I'll often start links with something very strong. But I'm looking for something good. That's the point. I'm not really that bothered about starting with a little old lady with grey hair who's of average build, average height, loves her family, because that's everybody. But if I've got a lady and she passes with bowel cancer, it's more specific. Or if I've got, I think one of the links that I did was a young man who passed drowning. Now it's a passing condition, but it's highly specific. I don't expect to be many people in the room who would know a young man who passes by drowning in open water. Not a swimming pool, open water, like a river or a sea. So that's what we're looking for. We're trying within our minds to get more specific information. Sometimes I may start with a scenario, a really complex scenario. But the point is that it's got to be something good to start off with. If we're just going to start off with generics, you'll be there all night and every man, this dog will take it. And we have to train ourselves to focus, to look for that kind of stuff. Now, one of the courses I offer is called Getting Better Evidence. There's 4 2.5 hour classes in that. And I go through basically all the different types of evidence, all the different mechanisms in which you can get them, all the different ways in which you can set up getting evidence, and what works best for beginners, intermediates to advanced. So that course covers it all in a great deal of detail. But simply put, I've got to the point where I don't look for specific evidence. I don't look to say, I want to start with a passing condition, an age, a relationship. Don't need that. The checklist is something we use at the earliest stage. When we move, we surrender to what spirit wished to bring, and we get to a point where my intent is that the information is specific enough to get me down to one person quickly. That's what we're seeking to get. Now, how do you get passing condition? You have to be clairsentient generally, or you need to see it. Say if it was the drowning, you may see somebody struggling in the water, or you just may sense that you can't breathe. There's no oxygen coming in to your body. and you feel you're in water. So you're feeling water, you're feeling you're not being able to breathe. And, you know, that's again one way of doing it. I had another link in that demonstration, which was somebody who passed with COVID. And again, it's like I can't breathe, my lungs are not pulling air in. But I knew that this happened very suddenly versus it being long term, like a COPD or some kind of condition like that. I knew this was acute pneumonia type thing, but I was taken back a couple of years into the COVID pandemic, so that showed me it was COVID. But I just felt going back. I didn't see COVID written out or nothing. So it's through clairsentience. We've got to develop our clairsentience. And for me, our clairsentience is the master sense, the master clair. All of us really flow from it. If you haven't got well-developed clairsentience, you'll struggle. And funnily enough, in that Getting Better Evidence course, I also talk about the typical development of the clairs and also how you can better improve them. So, but one thing you can do is ask Spirit. Ask Spirit, how did you pass? Can you show me your passing? Can you give me your passing? And see if you get it. So we can always ask for information. And when we're starting working with a checklist scenario, you know, I want your relationship, I want your age, I want how you passed, I want your personality. You know, that's what we call the checklist approach, 20 questions. But as you develop, you don't need to work that checklist. It becomes too restrictive. When you develop, you're just open to what you receive within a framework. It's about setting up frameworks. So hopefully that all makes sense. And I don't know if there's some tips in there for you. I hope there is. But and give it time. Give it time. Try. If you don't try, you won't succeed. And one thing you find is that you build up a bank of information of passing conditions. For me, I think the passing condition is powerful because it's generally the last memory most people have of their loved ones. So passing is powerful. But if you are, you know, if you're not somebody who's into death or you're really frightened of death, the likelihood of you getting passing conditions is reduced because of that worry, that fear, that outlook. Whereas if you take an interest in how people pass, then you're more likely to get the information. I know people who are undertakers, who work as mediums, who can get the most amazingly detailed information about the person's passing and funeral and all of that, which is phenomenal. If you've got a medical background, again, you're able to get quite phenomenal detail because your mind understands. Whatever you've got in your mind can be used. But sometimes I get passing conditions that I have no reference points for. So it's about building up those reference points. So I now know when I get a health condition with my lungs, I know that I can work with it and say, was it there long term or is it acute short term? Could it be like an emphysema, asbestosis, or COPD, which is what I call longer term? Or is it something much more rapid development, like a pneumonia or COVID type scenario? It took place in a matter of days or weeks. So we can look for that and feel into it. Just by feeling, was this a long-term thing? Did you have it for years, decades, or was it a short-term thing? I find that things like lung cancer feels different again. And we're building up through our experience of working, if you like, this memory bank that we can access. For example, if I get confusion, I can feel into it. Was it long-term confusion or was it came short-term? Was it an event that triggered it? Say like a stroke or a brain hemorrhage or something? Or was it long-term which came in slowly like Alzheimer's or dementia? So again, it's building up this information, this bank of passing conditions. So hopefully that helps in some way. Susan, how's your book writing coming along? It's coming along slowly, but it's moving along. It's going there. So hopefully we'll get something out soon. Although not necessarily this year. I can't guarantee that. Axis 68. During reading, Spirit often give me exact names of people that are alive they want to be remembered to and the message, but the Spirit seldomly give me the name even if I ask, why is this? Now, the thing is, I'm going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons here. If we're capable of getting a name, we should be capable of getting Spirit's name. Or we should be capable of understanding where that name fits. So, say I'm given the name of Barbara in a reading. I'm working with a lady. It doesn't feel like her name, so I feel the name Barbara fits around her. But I need to say to her, who's Barbara? It's my friend. Okay, this lady was Barbara's friend. So the lady I'm working with was incredibly talkative. And she's bringing in Barbara and put the two of them together and no one would have a chance. And you could talk for whichever country they were from forever. And you know, but that information is there from spirit. So we need to work with it and try and get it. If we just throw a random name in of John, Bill, Bob, and there's no other information, you're relying upon the person you're working with to try and pin the tail on the donkey. Where's the name fit? I don't know. So we should be able to try and get names that fit. If they're able to give you the exact name of somebody, they should be able to give you their own name. So you must ask for it and you must try to get it. I find that often when I get the spirit's name, it comes in very strongly. And then I'll think, let me just wait a little bit and it'll come in again. Okay, if I get it twice, I'll give it. Okay, he's given me the name of John. Yes, that's his name. It might be a common name, but that's his name. That's a name he's known for. So try that. Ask spirit to give you their name. But if they don't give you their name, ask to get information about what the connection is with the names you're getting. Whether they're in spirit, whether they're alive, why. I find often if spirit gives the name of someone living, generally there's a need for it. There may be a need for healing, a need to be remembered, a need for connections, or a need for issues to be resolved, but we got to feel into why. So what is it happening? I would say it's a state of your development at this moment. It's a stage. It's a pathway along the journey of your development. Keep working with it. Keep pushing. Hopefully you'll get there at the right time. I'm hoping. So, you know, the thing is, what happens is we often find that there's like way markers that we've got to go past to get our end result. And, you know, I've worked with names in the past where I got very good at names and then I didn't get good at them again. These different types of evidence become raised to the fore. I used to be fabulous with passing conditions and then it quietened down, but it's come back pretty well. So this is what happens. Bits come up and bits come down. It's a bit like whack-a-mole. You're very good at this and then all of a sudden it goes down again and another one pops up and you've got to work with that. That's what you've got to start working with. But then over time it all settles into place and hopefully you get all of it. That's what we're aiming really. So if you're enjoying it, don't forget to hit the like button if you're watching this on the replay. And again, hit the like button and do subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to the channel. And remember that, as I mentioned earlier, there is a sale on in my store if you want to check out my products. If you do want to support the channel, you can make a donation through PayPal. Details are pinned to the top of the chat box. And also you can make a donation through Super Chat as well, especially if you want to get your question answered next. You can do that as well. Okay. Maria, how do I know when to dig deeper into a piece of evidence after the sitter says yes? I usually just move on, but I was told that I should have dived in more. That comes with experience because all pieces, spirit, what happens with beginners is you get one piece, give it, throw it on the next, give it, throw it on to the next. But what happens is spirit can give you a whole contact from a few pieces of information if you ask for it. And it's knowing the significance. Like, it's pretty obvious if you say, oh, this man had a chest condition. That's too vague. What kind of chest condition was it? Was it heart? Was it lungs? How did it manifest? How long was it there for? You know, if it was heart, was it a heart attack? If it was heart, was it a long-term heart condition like angina? If it was heart, was it heart failure? If it was heart, did he need to have any operations or procedures? How did he manage it? How did it affect him? It's all there. If they can give you heart, all that information can cascade out of it if you look for it with your mind, if you open it up and drill into it. But you've got to be willing to go into it and you've got to recognize when the piece of information has more to it. So, and then you have to feel into it. Clairsentience again. Clairsentience is the key. Clairsentience tells you whether this information coming in is so vital that it will just unfold from it. But if you haven't got strong clairsentience to feel that or the experience to feel that, you get this piece of information, give it, throw away, move on. And there was such a huge amount of information in there. An experienced medium who links in, who's working with you, will see that that information is critical. That's the piece of information that will unlock your link. But if you can't feel that, if you can't sense that, if you don't get that, you'll just skip over it and you'll move to the next piece. So don't always be in a hurry. The best exercises for doing that is just learning to drill into pieces of evidence until you can get no more. So you just get one piece of evidence and you try and work it as much as you can before moving on to the next piece. We can do a whole link just off 3 or 4 pieces of evidence of working with them and trying to drill into them. And that's the training for it, is learning to go in with it. So hopefully that helps. Harry's mum, I hear him in the next room, but it's not in my mind. It sounds like a TV, but there's no TV there. His voice is muffled, so I can't understand what he's saying, and it comes and goes within 30 to 45 seconds. So I cannot explain that, to be truthful. And if you're not hearing it within your mind, but it's coming from elsewhere, it could well be somebody's voice that's coming to you from somewhere else. It may not even be spirit, you see. And if it could be a neighbour's TV or something. And sometimes within white noise, our own mind can create words that do not necessarily exist. We've proved this by playing white noise and getting people to hear into it. This is the basis of a lot of work where you can play static and spirits speak with it. But a lot of it I find is just, some of it is wishful thinking. People are trying to read into the noise stuff that isn't really there, in my experience. So we have to be a little bit careful with that. So I can't really explain that specific case. I've never encountered it before, so I cannot explain it. But my gut feeling here is I don't feel it's spirit. It doesn't sound logical enough to be spirit, but it may be something else. But I can't really explain it for you. And some things we cannot explain. Susan, can I explain Gordon Higginson's view on auric field colour? I believe he did not believe in chakras. Thank you. Yeah, he did believe in chakras, but he, like me, I think there's the key to mediumship. I try to remember which recording it is now. It could be the key to mediumship. It could be, anyway. There's an interview on mediumship that he does on the Gordon Higginson website. Check that one out. It's the most popular one. It's got loads of views. I think he talks about it in there about chakras. But his point is that chakras are a byproduct and they're not a focus for mediumship. When you're working with mediumship, yes, your chakras are doing things, but you don't really need to know about them. You don't really need to know about controlling them. You don't really need to know anything at all. Just accept that they're there, and that's it. But he used to work an awful lot with the auric field. He had the most amazing clairvoyant ability. He could see auras. He saw colours in auras. Now, the problem about colour in auras is there's different colours for different levels of the auric field. So if you imagine there's a physical aura, a mental aura, an emotional aura, a spiritual aura. If he was working with your aura, if he was looking at the spiritual aura, he'd see different colours than if he's looking at the physical aura. He may see the same colour in both, but say a blue in the spiritual maybe means something totally different from a blue in the mental or a blue within the emotional or physical. This is the point. So he didn't teach that this colour means X, Y and Z necessarily. At least I haven't heard him teach that. But equally, he very much worked with it a great deal. Many of his readings, he's talking about what he's getting with the colour. But then he's subjectively interpreting it, what it means to him when he gets it. So, if you listen to one of Gordon's sittings where he was doing a sitting and say, I'm saying brown in the aura and it means that. You could hear another sitting where he sees brown in the aura and it means something different, because you've got to interpret it psychically with the energy of the sitter. That's the point. It's just like if you have an image, that image doesn't always mean the same thing. You have to link it to the psychic energy of the person in front of you to translate it. That's the point. So I can't tell you that he taught this means that and this means the other. He may have done to a degree, but definitely he worked an awful lot with the auric field. That's for sure. And he taught about the different levels of auric field and the colours within. So don't think that it's just a simple case of these are your colours and that's the auric field. No, he would move into different levels and move through different layers. And a wonderful story I was told by a guy who was with Gordon when he walked into a church. And he was just chatting, conversation with this guy. I said, oh, that's fascinating. There's a guy just walked into the church over there and all the organs in his body are in the wrong position. I can see in his aura. And then he just started chatting again with the guy, ignored it. And the guy thought, that's interesting. I'll get chatting to this person later on and see if Gordon was right and see if anything's mentioned. And sure enough, he was chatting to this guy later, and this guy was telling him he had a health condition, and the problem with the health condition was that certain organs were in the wrong place. And Gordon was completely right. He didn't really probe to say, do you have organs in the wrong place? And it kind of came up in the conversation. So hopefully that makes sense. So you'd see that he's seeing the aura, he's understanding the aura, and that would sort it. Now we seem to have a problem with sound, and I don't know why. So Susan, thank you very much for your super chat, for bringing that to my attention. I don't know why the sound went. I've got no idea. I know our internet connection has been very strange over the last week with heat. The heat, we had 40 degrees heat in the UK, and I think it fried the connection. So there you go. So I got to the point of explaining all about Gordon, but I think you lost me. Okay, let's keep going as best we can. Next question was, when we conduct a psychic reading, do you believe spirit is involved, or is it just your soul and the sitter soul connects and auric fields mesh? So a psychic reading is nothing to do with spirit. A psychic reading is not even to do with the soul, to be honest. That's a specific type of reading, a soul reading. When we're doing a psychic reading, we're just blending with the energy field, the auric field of the sitter in front of us. That's what happens when we do an auric reading. That's all it is. Basically, what happens is you blend your energy with their energy, and from their energy you're receiving information. Now, a soul reading, you are connecting from your soul to their soul, and that's a specific kind of reading. It's a specific type of psychic reading, but you may argue that it's almost a form of spirit reading because it's soul to soul, but it is really a psychic reading, to be honest. So yeah, so with a psychic, so I do have a video, one of my videos, I have 24 videos, you can see them on the screen there, but the special topic video, number 4, special topic 4 is psychic development. And I talk all about the difference between psychic and mediumistic in that one. It's also part of module 1 of my study program. If you looked at the study program within module 1, you'll see it's a second video, and there's a tutorial on that as well, so it's in there as well. So if you want to know more about the psychic, you can check that video out. But yeah, it's just, you're just blending with the auric field. So I don't know why we lost the sound, no idea. It's not done it before in OBS, so I've got no idea what happened. I'm glad you all didn't go home though. So, hi Kevin, good to see you. So, hallelujah. Nothing in spirit can or would harm anyone. It's all interpretation in your own mind. And I agree with that entirely. Right. So I can see there's a whole bunch of things in the chat about Harry's mom's question. And to be honest, in all my work, I've never come across any negative beings. I've never come across any evil beings, anything like that. And on the basis of what's being said, I don't necessarily believe this is spirit, because if it was spirit, they wouldn't just chat in a room around the corner or be at a distance. You'd hear it much more than that. So, and Holly, you said, nothing in spirit can or would harm anyone, and it's all interpretation within our own mind. And that's what I was getting at the very beginning. The problem we have with phenomena is it's very hard to know objectively what is taking place. It's all subjective through our own mind. Now, nobody can deny you your experience. But I've walked into a room and someone's told me there's an evil spirit there. And I can't, I open up to spirit and there's nothing there. It's just phenomena or things they're psychically feeling, which they're magnifying and creating something from it. You know, a lot of people have a lot of weird belief systems. I once went to a spiritualist church and a guy there who's big into spirit rescue told me that I really needed to go and see a spirit rescue guy because I had about 18 spirits trapped in my aura, which was completely a codswallop. But this is the problem. It's all different people's belief systems. And it's not my belief system. And if I had any spirits near me, my own guides would sort it out. Why wouldn't they? Spirit is always best place to sort it out. So, yeah. So Gail had a question. What's your thoughts on using spirit boxes for EVP? Can they be trusted? So I'm not big into spirit boxes. To be honest, I'm not big into EVP at all. I've been in a lot of courses where people have done EVP. I've tried EVP myself a number of times, and to be honest, the results I got I've not been particularly excited about. Yeah, people send me, oh, listen to this amazing EVP, and I don't find it that amazing personally. So I'm not really somebody who's big into EVP. A lot of the EVP that I hear, and if anyone doesn't know what EVP is electronic voice phenomena. What happens is you take a recorder, and usually a poorer quality recorder works better than a very high quality recorder. I've got very high quality audio recorders, and it doesn't work very well on them, but sort of poor quality older ones, you can get stuff on there. But to be honest, Spirit kind of say the more static there is, the easier it is to do it. But when I hear the things that people say is spirit talking, none of them have ever made me go wow. And loads of mediums evidence has made me go wow, but no real EVP has excited me or made me go that wow. I hear a lot of I've heard a lot of spirit boxes, and a spirit box is basically, it's got a radio in it that's constantly searching through different channels, and now and again it will catch bits and words will pop out, and the idea is that spirit will bolt the words together to make a communication. And again, I've never been that impressed with any of them. So this is just me being honest. If you love EVP and spirit boxes and that's your bag, brilliant, go with it. But for me, I would far rather do mediumship where I can bring through amazing evidence and touch souls and create healing and have profound results than getting something that you could argue, is it spirit talking? Is it not? Does it sound right? Is it logical? Is it given a huge amount of information? Not really. So, yeah. So do I recommend you do EVP or use a spirit box? Or by all means, check it out. Give it a shot. Give it a try. It's the kind of thing we would do on a course just to give people experience of it. But other than that, I don't really use it. Now, there is a theory that for good EVP, you need a physical medium, because you're trying to create physical phenomena. And I know some mediums who get way better results than others. And maybe it's their energy, and their energy is conducive to creating it. And maybe I'm just not the right energy. I'm not a physical medium. Maybe that's why it doesn't happen. I don't know. So, yeah. Who knows? Who knows? So, check it out. Give it a try. See how you get on. If it works, great. If it doesn't matter. You've not lost nothing. But I also put it in the similar sort of field as taking photographs and trying to get spirit extras and photographs and orbs. And for me, there's got to be absolute logic in it. We've really got to have absolute logic in it, because if it's an orb and it's spirit, not just I'm interested in photography and I've took loads of photographs, and it's just a natural phenomena of certain types of camera to get dust in front of the lens, which creates orbs. Again, the poorer the quality of the camera, the easier it is to get. The smaller the sensor, the easier it is to get. So again, you see it in certain ways. But if it was spirit doing it, I'd want to say, okay, spirit, place it above this person's head. Move it from left to right. Move it from left, have it go halfway over, and then move right again. And, you're asking them to do specific things, and if they do what you're asking them to do, it shows intelligence. Otherwise, you just don't know. And that's the problem. That's the problem. So yeah, you've never tried spirit boxes, just what if you could really get evidential mediumship. I'm not sure about it all either. I've never come across any truly evidential mediumship from a spirit box. Some people argue that it is, they're saying their name, but I listen to it. And what I would tend to do is, with EVP, people write out what it's supposed to be saying, and it suggests it to your mind. What I'd prefer to do is play it to people and saying, what word are they saying? and they can't hear it. But if I say the suggestion is that word, oh yeah, I suppose I can hear that, yeah. But they wouldn't get it if it wasn't suggested to them. So that's important to recognise as well. So call me sceptical, but yeah, that's the problem. That is a problem. What about Kinect cameras? Do they work? I don't even know what a Kinect camera is, to be honest, so I can't give you any feedback on that whatsoever, because I don't know what a Kinect camera is. Jane, can you suggest any exercise to help with getting the person's name, age, how they died, etc.? Yeah, simple exercise. Look for it. Have a checklist. What we can do is, now, you may not always get it in the order that you want to do it off of a checklist, but if you're working with spirit and the person knows who they are, then, you know, we want to know the age, just so we can ask, okay, can you give me the age? And now there are numerous different ways to get age. You can sense an age, which is not always going to be accurate. You can see an age written out, which is more accurate. You can be shown someone you know who passed at a certain age, and it's similar, close to that age. You can hear an age within your mind. There are numerous different ways of getting it. Depends where you are in your development as to how you get it. Now, I go into all of this in great detail in the Getting Better Evidence course, as to generally the different mechanisms and how far advanced you've got to be to get them. In the early stages, sensing an age is easiest. However, sensing an age comes with big error bars. Someone who's 80 years old may feel like a 70-year-old. Or that someone who's 80 years old but got a great deal of health conditions may feel like a 90-year-old. There's error bars on it. That's the important thing to understand. So that's very important to recognise. So try and get them all. Look for them. Ask to get them. Ask Spirit that I would like to get this type of information. And then you got to look for it. Got to try and see how you get on. That's the key thing to go with it. You know, names is hardest. Names is the hardest of all, because you've got to be able to hear a name or knowingly get a name. Or the other way around it, clairvoyantly, is to see an image of somebody who has the same name. So maybe a famous person. Say the person's called Kevin, you may see an image of Kevin Costner, or any other Kevin who's famous you know of, or person you have in your experience by that name, or a loved one of yours that has the same name. That can work for names. But if to hear a name takes a development of clairsentience, or to know a name takes clairknowing, and those are later stages in the development of mediumship. So it's not always that easy to do. Linda, as a mum that lost a child, when a medium talked about how my son passed, it puts me in a very dark place, like suicidal dark. I hope you can find other ways to provide evidence. Now, the problem you've got with the passing condition is we have to be careful who we're working with and how it affects them. So, and plus you've got to be careful, you've got to feel into it and know where the person's at, particularly in sittings. It's a little bit harder in platform, but remember, Spirit wouldn't give you information necessarily that they don't want their loved one to hear. So Spirit would know that someone's loved one would find it hard to deal with, so may not give it. So sometimes I look for a passing condition, I don't get it, but there's a reason I don't get it. They either don't want to talk about it, which is the most common, or the recipient is not in a good place to hear it. But I've seen mediums milk a passing condition. They passed in this way, and they keep milking it and make people cry, and they're bringing in trauma. We've got to be careful. We've got to use our tact filter as well. You know, if it's a very traumatic passing condition, sometimes it's enough just to touch that I know they passed in a traumatic way. Yes, I don't necessarily need to go into the details, but certainly in sitting, we should be sensing how it's making the recipient feel, and if it's challenging, we've got to be very careful. Now, the problem we have as well is as a piece of information to us as mediums, a passing condition is just a memory. It's just a fact. Often with young people, it is what will unlock the link. So it is an important piece of information. But whether the recipient is able to easily hear it is another thing. And some people want to come for readings, and I know they're not ready, because what will come up within the reading will not necessarily be right for them. And so I may just sense that, do you know what, they're not in the right place. And they'll say, I've lost a loved one 2 months ago, I want to come for a reading. And it's like, intuitively, I know it'd be better for them to leave it to maybe 6 months or a bit longer. Because where they're at the moment, it could re-traumatize, absolutely. And we see that, we understand that. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful as mediums. We have to use our sensitivity that we have, our empathetic sensitivity. We've got to be careful. But in a public demonstration, it's a little bit harder because you don't know who you're working with. You're relying upon what spirit bring to you. And, you know, but equally as mediums, we've got to be capable of getting passing conditions. So I would still train mediums to get it. I hope that makes sense. Okay, Harry's mum. A kinetic camera is a camera that shows a skeleton shape for a spirit. Is the camera I was asking about. Are they real? I've never come across one. I don't know anybody in the UK who has one. I've not seen one. I can't really answer, to be honest. So I've not got the experience to know. But it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So I don't know. But without understanding the theory behind it. Like, for example, it is possible to see the aura, the auric shape around people. That's possible with certain types of cameras. I've seen that. But not necessarily a skeleton. That doesn't really, you know. For example, you can have a DEXA scan, which shows bones, and you have X-rays that show things. So if it may even have an aspect to it that is not. It is a physical camera that can do that, but it doesn't sound very much like it's spirit related. But I don't know. I can't really go off any more of that. Kevin, based on your experience, is it better to do back-to-back individual client readings, or should you schedule a break in between? I would say when you're first starting out, schedule a break. But with experience, back-to-back is fine. But you've got to understand your own energy levels. You've got to understand how long you can work for before you need a break. If someone said to me, right, Martin, you're going to work for 4 hours solid with no break, I'd be not very happy probably, because that's a long time to work solid. So if I was doing an hour sitting, yeah, I would like 10 minutes in between each one would be ideal. If I'm doing half-hour sittings, often they're scheduled back-to-back. You maybe be doing 4, 5 half-hour sittings back-to-back and you have no control over it. So you've got to just go with the flow. So, yeah, your problem is, and it is a big problem, you've got to understand your own energy, and you've got to understand how sittings work for you, and you've got to understand whether if you do them back to back, it creates problems for you, challenges for you. But what I used to do is I used to work on a 45-minute sitting booked on the hour. So I had 15 minutes between. If one had to overrun a bit, it didn't matter. If someone arrived 5 minutes early, it didn't matter. But if you book back to back, if it overruns, it impacts the next person. So that's something I would suggest. If you can do a 45-minute sitting booked an hour apart, if that will give you the comfort of a short gap in between. But if you don't want a gap in between because, you know, your time is precious, I understand as well, and you can just book it all back to back with a half hour, hour, 45, whatever that may be. So hopefully that helps. Nicole. When it comes to guides, do they usually present themselves in the same way, shape or form to a medium who's reading as they would when they appear to the person themselves? With guides guides is problematic because a guide does not necessarily have a specific form. But mediums and us who have guides, mediums who would touch upon your guide will try and create them into something, and you will want your guide to be something. Guides are spirits. You know, they don't necessarily have a form. They'll take any form. Guides have said that they will take any form you want them to have. They will come to you as you want them to be. They will also take any form another medium wants them to have if they need to work with them. If a medium won't work with your guide unless that guide is a Native American, the guide will have to show themselves as a Native American. If you will only accept your guide as a Native American, that guide will have to show themselves as a Native American, even though they're not. I would say try and step away from any archetype of how you want your guide to appear. Because I've been given everything from Aborigines to Zulus and everything in between. I've been told my guide is 30 different archetypes. How can my guide be 30 different archetypes? They can't. So it's effectively, it becomes untrue. So I personally believe it's very hard for another medium to give you your guide accurately. That is a very, very hard thing to do. So be very careful with what people tell you. And there's no evidence with guides, remember. If a medium is not very good, the easiest thing in the world is to start telling you what your guide is. Because if they can't get evidence from the spirit world, from loved ones, that can be validated. Guides are just very easy to give that with no validation. You just talk about anything. So it's hard. Only way you're going to get to know your guide is through time, through experience, through setting the intent to work with them, but keeping a very open mind. I was initially told my guide was X. I believed my guide to be that archetype, but over time it became clear my guide was not. Just like Silver Birch is portrayed as a Native American, but Silver Birch is not a Native American, nor is the Red Cloud, the guide of Estelle Roberts, is not a Native American, nor is White Eagle a Native American. So Silver Birch, Red Cloud and White Eagle, the three most famous Native American guides, all said they were not Native Americans. So it's just how other people have sensed them to be portrayed when they're not. So somebody drew a picture of Silver Birch as a Native American, but Silver Birch said, I'm not. That's not what I am. But I use the energy of a Native American to help get to the earth plane, but that's not what I am. So yeah, be careful with guides. It's an interesting one. We can become very keen to have a name of a guide or an archetype of a guide, whereas really you just want to have a relationship with a guide and have that guide inspire you. That's what matters more than any names or archetypes. I don't know the names of my own guides. I work in trance with them. They tell me names are unimportant. They'll answer to any name I give them. I can choose any name I like and they'll take it. So it's easier just to go with the flow. Okay. Maria, sometimes I only get random things in a reading. For example, I see a cheetah, I see a map. I guess the connection is not strong enough. Any suggestions? Well, the problem is we see this with a lot of mediums. It's like they just get... Thing is, your own mind can create all of that. Like, why would spirit give you a cheetah unless there was a memory with a cheetah? Or, you know, and I don't work easily with... some people will say, oh, it's symbolic, you know, you've got to work with your symbols. No, if you're linking well with spirit, they should just be able to give information about themselves. But you've got to be asking for information about them. That's the key. So yeah, it's probably not strong enough, but without knowing, you know, if you're getting random information, I'd just say you're not well connected. You really need to look at the connection. So I have a video on that if you're interested, which is Mediumship Class 3, Connecting with Spirit. It also covered in Fundamentals of Mediumship course, which is one of my courses. And it's also covered in Module 1 of the study program. As I mentioned, I do have a sale on at the moment on my website, 2-week sale. It runs until the 7th of August and there's 10% off site-wide. It's the best discounts I've offered on my website. If you're interested, check it out. But yeah, when people are getting pieces of random information, it's not good mediumship. Good mediumship starts by making a link, and the first thing you should be saying, I've got a man or a woman, and then you're getting information about that man or woman. You know, if I'm starting to see random things like a map or a cheetah, that's not about the man or the woman. You could be getting that psychically. So you've got to be linked well with spirit and seeking the information from spirit. Normally when I see that, it's because the person is either not developed enough or not connected, or doesn't understand what good mediumship should be and doesn't understand what evidence is. So those are all aspects that could be part of it. So I don't know what level you're at and whether any of that resonates for you. Linda, I think the last medium didn't get a good connection. So when she hit on how my son passed, she went on and on about it. I want to hear my son is happy. Yeah, I get that. And that's the thing. We need to not milk any one piece of evidence. And if we sense it's causing hurt or pain, we move on, we change. All readings from spirit should be uplifting, should be healing, should be positive. You know, if I linked with somebody and they passed in a traumatic way, I'd be wanting to bring through where are they now, how are they now, and what are they wanting to communicate about where they are and where the sitter is as well, and what they want for the sitter. Generally, when people pass traumatically, their biggest concern is the pain and suffering of their loved ones left behind. They're fine in the spirit world, but they're always going to be more interested in what's happening. So yes, I'd say I'm probably an inexperienced medium, or a medium who, because for whatever reason, just focused on the evidence. It's a shame, but it happens. Rain, what is the biggest factor in who comes through from spirit world? Is it the desire of the sitter, the desire of the spirit to bring in a message, or the mind and ability of the medium? It's everything. There's a multitude of factors. You can go for a reading hoping to get somebody, but is the medium a good fit for that person? Are they a good vibrational match? Has the medium developed enough? I have a theory that you see it on this little slide here. This is the spirit world here, and this is increasing frequency, increasing vibration up the right hand side. And a beginner can only work so far into the spirit world. They can only touch so many people in the spirit world. An intermediate can work with a wider range of frequencies, a wider range of wavelengths. And an advanced can work with even more still. But say your loved ones on this level here, only an advanced medium generally would reach them. Versus if they were down here, everybody could reach them. So what I'm trying to say is, are they a good vibrational match? Are they on the wavelength of the medium? If they're not, it could be hard. I've done links where someone says to me, you're the only medium who ever gets them. I go to church every week and they've only ever come through 2 mediums. You're one of them. And why is that? And it could be that reason. We're a good vibrational match and maybe other people are not. Does the person in the spirit world want to communicate? That's a key factor. If they don't have to. Do you want to hear from them? Of course. Who do you want to hear from is a part of it, but not the greatest part. Who is there a message to bring that's profound and important? If yes, that will also lead to them coming through, but not always. So these are all parts in the mix. And I do have a video on my channel, why has my loved one not come through? People often ask me, why has my loved one not come through? And if they have strong religious beliefs, it may block it. If this wasn't their cup of tea, they may choose not to do so. It may take time in the spirit world for them to come round to wanting to work through a medium. They've got to be trained to do it as well, remember. So they can't just do it straight away. They've got to have a degree of training to learn how to link with a medium as much as we learn to link with them. So there's all sorts of factors in the mix. But yeah, check out the video I posted on my channel called Why Has My Loved One Not Come Through? And also there's another one, how soon can a loved one come through from the spirit world? Simple answer is immediately, if the medium is able to receive them and if they're a good communicator. Hallelujah. I've been told my guide was Joseph from the Bible, and everyone else in my circle that day was told a different character from the Bible as their guide from a well-known trance medium, but I don't buy it. And neither do I. Absolutely not. I once was watching a number of people going for readings with the same medium, and everyone who came out told me with great happiness that this great well-known medium was their guide. And it's complete rubbish. What's happening is the medium is telling people what they want to hear. It's just complete rubbish. It doesn't make sense. You know, why would Joseph from the Bible be somebody's guide? You know, is he not been able to move forward in the last 2,000 or however many years it's been that he passed? No, I'm sorry, mate, but you're someone's guide. No, it's not going to be the case. I'm sorry. It doesn't make any logical sense. And that's just the mind of the medium. It is the mind of the medium. And I'd say it's the lack of ability of the medium. Because famous guides, I don't buy famous guides. Even if a guide was somebody very famous working with me, if they made it clear to me they were famous, it would ruin the working relationship. It would spoil it. If I was to tell you my guide is the most famous person in the world, Buddha or Jesus, you'd think I was mad. And you've got a right to think that as well. And how can I prove it? I can't. So, and what happens is sometimes with guides, someone senses you've got this guide working with you, they're a very wise soul, they've got this really spiritual energy, but what happens in their mind is they may be from a certain religious tradition that, oh, this really spiritual energy is Jesus. That's what they equate that kind of energy with the spirit world. So I'm making that Jesus, but it's not. Of course it's not. It's just a spiritual, evolved soul. So often it's the medium's own mind that triggers it. Important to recognize that. So Peter, thank you very much for your super chat. That is really much appreciated. I can't see a question to go with it, but if you have, do paste it in the box and I'll get onto it next. If you are enjoying what I'm doing, remember you can hit the like button, do subscribe to the channel. Remember to check out my website, my new improved website. It got the store combined. The website's been completely rebuilt and redesigned to build in the store. And because of that, I've launched a sale, a new sale to celebrate the new website, summer sale. Runs for 2 weeks, 10% off across the board. Do check it out. So yeah, Holly, you're happy having anonymous guides, and so am I. You know, as long as my guides help me, as long as my guides work with me, as long as my guides are there, and all the rest of that, I'm happy. I don't need a name for them. I don't need to have them as this, that, or the other. Now, but I get that in some cases they are that. I'm not saying not everyone is, but I would say don't go looking for it. Don't go looking for it. Otherwise, mediums can pick up upon what you want as well. They can sense in your energy psychically that you think you've got a Native American, and they'll give you a Native American because they're sensing it psychically. But maybe your guide's not. Maybe your guide's just an evolved soul who's had a multitude of lives and doesn't need to appear as any of them. Will just appear as the mind, the consciousness, the soul, the spiritual being they truly are. So there you go. Hopefully that helps. Have we got any more questions? Is there any I missed? So if you've got a question, now's your time to pop it in. Now is the time. So it's been a bit of a challenging live stream, this one, I can see. We've had our fair share of technical problems. As I say, there has been great heat in the UK. We had our hottest day earlier in the week. And because of that, the internet seems to have been very flaky of late. So I think that's causing a lot of these technical problems. I will do a lot of troubleshooting and hopefully we'll try and fix it before the next one. I live in hope we can get it fixed for the next one. One more question there from Rebecca, I can see. I find I let my readings fizzle out instead of recognise when the message I've given is enough and finish strongly. Any hints? Now, when we're teaching people to work platform, we always get you to finish on the message and leave it and not try and dabble and get more evidence and destroy and unpick everything you've done. When you're working doing readings, you can do multiple different people, you can work psychically, you can work mediumistically, you can do all of that. There's no hard and fast rules when it comes to readings. But sometimes it's recognizing when you've given enough. It's recognizing where you are. You know, sometimes people pay for 45 minutes and in 30 minutes you've done everything you want to do. And you feel like you've got to keep going for those last 15 minutes to give them their money's worth. And it's like, well, but sit and feel into what is their need. Maybe you've done all you need to do mediumistically. And maybe is there something psychically in the mix that needs to come up as well. Or you can always ask another spirit communicator if they want to come in for the last part as well. So there's multitude of ways of doing it. I do have a course on better private readings, again, 4 2.5-hour sessions involved with that, where we go through how to do readings, all the aspects of readings, doing professional readings. So it's all that kind of thing is covered in a great deal of detail in that course if that interests you. But yeah, I would say, you know, if someone's paying for a 45-minute reading and at 40 minutes you feel that's all you need to give, be happy to finish it there and to be willing to step back from it. Don't feel you have to work to the clock necessarily. You know, sometimes we are where we are. It is what it is. You shouldn't finish too soon, you know. 10 minutes in, oh, that's it, I'm done now. No, but, you know, if it's only 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, it's not the end of the world if we're talking an hour or 45 minutes. Or 5 minutes in half an hour sitting, it's not the end of the world. And what you can do is ask them if they've got any questions at the end, just to pack in the time. So I hope hopefully there's a few hints there for you, Rebecca. But sometimes if you feel your energy mediumistically dropping, you've got to run with that. You know, you can try and change the energy. You can try different things. You can try moving to the psychic. But rather than letting the reason fizzle out, just if you feel you've done all you need to do and you finished at a good point, you can be willing to stop it there, I think. So Rain, how does spirit show us exactly how they look sometimes, but other times they get their personality but no appearance? So how spirits show us how they look depends upon your degree of clairvoyance. If you've got highly developed clairvoyance and you can see a photographic image of them, that's brilliant, but it takes a lot of power and energy, spirit side, to communicate that. Sometimes they will give you what I call a photo fit. They will highlight their wall glasses, they've got a bald head, but if you saw an actual photographic image of how they looked, it's not the same. They're just getting across the key points to you of how they looked. I remember doing a reading for somebody and the appearance was quite bizarre, and I explained all this appearance and they took it all, and I thought I'd done really well, and afterwards they got a photograph out and showed me what they looked like, and that's not what I'd seen at all. But all the key points I communicated in relation to their bizarre hairstyle, in relation to their tattoos, in relation to everything about them, which was really quite odd, was taken. But what I was seeing within my mind was not a photographic representation of them. They were just using, if you like, a photo fit, blank image photo fit, to project all these different things on. And my mind received it all, bolted it all on there, but it wasn't photographic accurate. So it's important to recognise that. So that's how it works with appearance. Sometimes we don't get appearance easily. Depends how developed you are. And it depends what you work with. If you're working predominantly with clairsentience, you're not going to get appearance. Appearance is imagery, seeing. If you work, a lot of mediums who work very strongly clairsentiently don't do appearance. They can do health conditions, they can do personality, they can do all sorts of other things, but not necessarily strong appearance. But equally, I never really look for appearance unless it's interesting, because if I just describe average appearance, it's not going to get people excited, really. Especially not on a platform environment. That's important to recognise. And really, again, it depends on what spirit wishes to communicate. Why would they spend hours communicating that they looked very average when they could spend a short period of time communicating some phenomenal evidence? I'd far rather have the phenomenal evidence than a long time to communicate they were average build, average height, average looking, glasses, thin in hair. Not really helping anybody. So yeah, that's another reason. So Alison, what time would you normally allow for a platform reading? So for a single contact, how long should a contact be? I have a video on my channel called How Long Should a Contact Be? The general rule of thumb is 6 to 10 minutes. But if it's not working well, it will possibly run for longer than that if it's taking you a while to sort it out. If you're amazingly clairaudient or you work very rapidly, quickly, it may be less time than that. So you've got to go with the flow and see how it pans out. It's hard to give hard and fast rules, but if you're going for more than 10 minutes, it's starting to become too long. That's important to recognise. But if you're given phenomenal evidence in a short period of time, like say Helen Hughes was clairaudient, she heard it all from spirit. I've got Jane Smith here. She's in the spirit world with her sister June. She's here for Dave and Angela, and she lived in 52 Church Grove. You know, that kind of information, you don't need to go for 10 minutes because they can communicate it all in a few minutes. Her links were very, very short, very punchy. But because the quality of evidence was brilliant, it didn't have to be long. So again, it depends how people work. But check out How Long Should a Contact Be? I will put a link to that in the description as well after this class. Danny Girl, how can we help people that think they're having issues with evil entities or hauntings? I've had people ask me for help, but I'm entirely unsure how. I do agree it's belief system related. The problem is, if somebody believes there's an evil entity bothering them, no matter, if that's their belief system, unless you can change their belief system by arguing with them, it's hard. It really is. We need to educate people. But if people have got strong religious beliefs and they believe in evil, it's very hard to educate people. Many people have said to me that there's an evil spirit in their room. When you go there, there's not. I was once called upon to help an old lady in her 90s. Oh, there's an evil spirit around this old lady in her 90s. Can you go and sort it out? And I went there, and it wasn't an evil spirit at all. It was her husband wanting to get her attention. And the old lady was not being looked after. She was supposed to have care in the home, and it wasn't working out. And she wasn't getting the help she needed. And the husband was coming forward because he was truly concerned about her and knew she wasn't being looked after and was there supporting her. How can the husband be an evil spirit? It's not. But because people sense the spirit presence, and because she felt the spirit presence as well, the lady, everyone automatically assumes it's evil, but it's not. Too many programs on TV that talk about evil spirits. Too many crazy haunted programs that do this kind of stuff. You know, in my experience, Gordon Higginson went to a pottery that was haunted, that had an evil spirit in it. When he got there, he found out it was one of the women who worked there, just wanted to be around her friends from work, just wanted to be a part of that environment of which she'd been a part of all her life. How's that evil? Check it out on the Gordon Higgins Tribute YouTube channel. It's called Pottery Haunting. New story on pottery haunting. Check it out. It's fantastic. It really is interesting. But again, it's not evil at all. So it really is hard to deal with these issues. You know, many people, there's one room in their house that's cold, got a cold feeling. It's an evil spirit must be in there. And you go there and you say it's got a flat roof, it's got badly fitting windows, and the radiator needs bleeding because it's not working properly. You fix all of that, there's no problem. It doesn't need clearing. It doesn't need anything. And I can't really do a great deal. You know, if it really was a spirit person that needed to be moved on, who's best placed to do it? The spirit world. Ask the spirit world to help them. I wouldn't go there necessarily other than for interest. I used to go to quite a lot of these just for my own interest. But what I found was that in 99% of cases, it wasn't spirit. And in the few percent of the cases it was their loved ones. And if there was a problem there, just sending the thoughts for spirit guides to help sort it out, they would sort it out. If it was spirit. If it's not, they won't. They can't. So it's education, I believe. But the problem is you can't change people's beliefs and mindset. If that's what they believe, you're not going to change it easily. It's going to be hard. Jane, do you ever have readings when there are no messages to give? Sometimes somebody comes forward because they just want to connect, and they come forward because they can, and they come forward and that's enough. They're really pleased to connect. They're really pleased to let their loved one know, I'm here, I'm still alive. That's it. There doesn't necessarily have to be any great, fabulous messages. So sometimes the message is, they're so pleased to have come. Sometimes the message is, I love you. Sometimes the message, that's enough. We don't have to get this complicated, fancy, amazing message all the time. Sometimes just the fact that they belong to you, they love you, they want to reconnect with you is enough. So yeah, it does happen. I appreciate your workshops. I'm glad you do. That's great. So I think that we've probably come to a point where we can park it up for the evening. So I do hope you've enjoyed it. I do hope you've got lots from it. If you have, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. My apologies for the challenges we've encountered technologically, all beyond my control. The technical gremlins are in. I don't believe it's spirit related at all. It's just the way it goes sometimes. As I say, there is a sale on my website if you want to check it out, martintwycross.com. If you appreciate what I've done this evening, do check out my products. If there's anything that takes your fancy, feel free to buy anything. If you want to just make a donation through PayPal, you're welcome. It's on the ticker there. It's also in the description as well. You're more than welcome if you want to buy me a coffee. But I'm just happy to do this, offer this teaching in the hope that it helps, and the hope that it raises standards, and the hope that people gain from it. So thank you all for coming this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. And thanks to everyone who's watched it on the replay. I look forward to seeing you all in another class. Take care. Bye for now.